They say money buys happiness, but I've seen penthouse apartments with more silence than a cemetery, and small houses where love is so loud you can hear it from the street. The split-screen image tells two stories at the same dawn. On the left, Catherine Sterling stands motionless at floor-to-ceiling windows 40 floors above Austin, watching the city wake beneath a sky-threatening snow. The penthouse gleams with the kind of perfection that comes from never being truly lived in. Marble floors reflect recessed lighting, designer furniture arranged by professionals who understand aesthetics but not comfort. Everything costs a fortune. Nothing feels like home. She wears a silk robe that probably costs more than most people's monthly rent, holding a coffee mug. She barely sips from staring at her own reflection in the glass more than the view beyond. Her face carries the kind of beauty that wealth preserves 49 years. Worn like 35, but her eyes hold something no amount of money can fix. Emptiness. The penthouse stretches behind her, elegant and vast and profoundly lonely. On the right side of the screen, Ethan Cole's kitchen bursts with morning chaos in the best possible way. The house is modest, maybe 1,500 square feet in East Austin, where the neighborhood still remembers what working class means. The linoleum has seen better decades. The appliances don't match. But the space vibrates with life. Ethan flips pancakes on a griddle older than his daughter, humming something his late wife used to sing. He's 54, wearing faded jeans and a flannel shirt with frayed cuffs hair, showing more silver than brown these days. His hands move with the confidence of a man who's spent 3 decades working with them scarred knuckles and calloused palms that somehow manage gentleness when he sets a plate down. Emma Cole thunders down the stairs, 17 and running perpetually, 5 minutes late for everything. Her backpack hits the floor with a thud that rattles the kitchen window. She slides into her chair, already scrolling through her phone. But when Ethan sets the pancakes in front of her, she looks up and grins. Her voice carries the easy affection of someone who's never doubted being loved. "Dad, you're going to make me fat." Ethan pours syrup in a deliberate spiral, the same pattern he's done since she was 3. "You run cross-country 5 days a week. I think you'll survive." The radio plays something from the 80s. Emma rolls her eyes at the music but doesn't ask him to change it. They exist in that comfortable space where words aren't always necessary, where presence is enough. Ethan sits across from her with his own plate, watching her eat, with the quiet satisfaction of a parent who still marvels that this person exists. Outside, the January sky darkens. Weather reports have been warning about the storm all week. Rare winter weather pushing down from the north. The kind of cold Austin isn't built for. But inside this small kitchen, with its mismatched chairs and chipped paint warmth, isn't something that needs to be purchased. The clock on the wall reads 5:45 in the morning. Back in the penthouse, Catherine finally moves. She sets down the untouched coffee, walks to her bedroom, begins the transformation from grieving widow to CEO. The process takes 45 minutes. Exercise clothes. 20 minutes on the Peloton, pushing herself until her lungs burn, punishing her body because it's easier than examining why she woke at 4:30 again, why sleep keeps slipping away like everything else she's tried to hold on to. Shower. The bathroom costs more than some people's cars, rainfall, showerhead, and heated marble floors, but the water still can't wash away 4 years of accumulated exhaustion. She stands under the spray longer than necessary, eyes closed, trying to remember what it felt like to wake up next to someone who knew all her secrets. The memory is fading. Sometimes she can't recall Thomas's voice anymore. The realization terrifies her more than any board meeting. Makeup, hair, the armor of corporate success, tailored suit and charcoal gray silk blouse, heels that add 3 inches and announce authority with every step. She studies herself in the mirror, looking for cracks in the facade, finding none. This is what she's good at now, appearing unbreakable. The penthouse remains silent except for her footsteps. James is asleep in his room, or pretending to be, a habit he's developed over the past year. They exist in the same space without really connecting, two people orbiting a shared grief neither knows how to discuss. She doesn't knock on his door, doesn't check if he's awake. She tells herself he's 18, needs space, perfectly capable of getting himself to class. The truth sits heavier, she doesn't know what to say to him anymore. Every conversation feels like navigating a minefield, one wrong word away from explosion. Catherine leaves for the office at 6:45. The building is 12 minutes away. She'll be at her desk before most of Austin is awake. In East Austin, Ethan and Emma clean up breakfast together, a practiced routine. She washes, he dries, they move around each other like dancers who've rehearsed the choreography 1,000 times. The radio shifts to news, storm warnings, predictions of ice power outages, the kind of weather that sends Texans into panic mode. Emma glances at her father, noting the slight tension in his shoulders. "You'll be busy today." Ethan nods, folding the dish towel with precision. Emergency calls always spike when storms hit. People forget to maintain their systems until something breaks. She leans against the counter, studying him with the particular intensity of teenagers who've learned to read their parents' moods. "You love it, though, the chaos." He considers this offering the kind of unvarnished truth that's defined their relationship. "I love fixing things. I love that moment when the lights come back on and someone realizes they're not stuck in the dark anymore. That never gets old." Emma smiles, soft and sad at the edges. "Mom used to say that about you, that you saw problems as puzzles instead of obstacles." The mention of Rachel still creates a pause even after 10 years. Ethan's hands still for a moment, then resume their task. "Your mother saw the best in everyone, sometimes more than what was actually there." Emma moves closer, resting her head briefly on his shoulder, a gesture that takes her back to childhood. "She wasn't wrong about you." They finish cleanup in companionable silence. Ethan makes her lunch while she packs her backpack turkey sandwich and apple and the chocolate chip cookies he baked last night. She protests that she's not 10 anymore, that the cafeteria exists, but she takes the brown paper bag anyway because they both know it matters. At 6:28, they walk to his truck together. The Ford F-150 has seen better years. The paint faded, a dent in the rear panel from a parking lot incident neither discusses. But the engine runs clean because Ethan maintains it himself, and the interior stays organized because discipline matters even in small things. He drives her to school, a route memorized through repetition. They listen to the radio, occasionally singing along to songs they both know. Emma's voice, clear and untrained, Ethan's rougher but enthusiastic. She tells him about the calculus test she's nervous about, the friend drama she's trying to navigate, the college applications she's supposed to be working on but keeps avoiding. Ethan listens without interrupting, asks questions that show he's actually paying attention. Offers perspective without trying to fix everything. It's a skill he's learned through hard years of single parenting, understanding that sometimes being there when it counts matters more than having all the answers. They pull up to the school at 7:12. Emma unbuckles, grabs her backpack, then turns back. "Dad." He looks at her, this person he's raised, this miracle he still can't quite believe is his. "Yeah, kiddo." She hesitates, teenage self-consciousness warring with something deeper. "I love you. Be careful today in the storm." Ethan's throat tightens the way it always does when she catches him off guard with sincerity. "Love you too, Emma. Always." She climbs out, joins the stream of students heading toward the building. Ethan watches until she disappears inside the same ritual every morning, making sure she's safe before he drives away. It's a small thing. It's everything. He heads to his first job of the day, a residential call in South Austin. The GPS says 23 minutes in current traffic. He uses the drive to organize his thoughts, mental checklist of the day ahead. 3 scheduled appointments, all routine maintenance. But the storm will change that. His phone will start ringing once the weather hits. It always does. The radio shifts to weather updates. Storm expected to arrive by mid-afternoon. Temperatures dropping into the 20s. Possibility of ice. The meteorologist sounds almost gleeful the way they do when something unusual breaks the monotony. Ethan turns down the volume, focuses on the road. At Sterling Tech headquarters, Catherine steps off the private elevator directly into her office suite. The executive floor is designed to intimidate all glass and steel in carefully calculated luxury. Her assistant Michelle sits at the desk outside Catherine's door, already on her second coffee, fingers flying across a keyboard. Michelle looks up, offering the kind of smile that costs extra in administrative salaries. "Good morning, Ms. Sterling. Your 6:30 with Tokyo went well. They signed off on the merger terms. Coffee is ready in your office and the board briefing materials are on your desk." Catherine nods the acknowledgement brief. "Thank you. Hold all calls until 7:15 unless it's urgent." Inside her office, the view spans downtown Austin, glass walls offering a panorama that cost a fortune to design. Catherine sets her bag down, studies the briefing materials while standing too restless to sit. The Sterling Tech board meeting is scheduled for 10. Another quarterly review, another performance evaluation, another opportunity to prove she belongs in this chair. The company was smaller when Thomas founded it 15 years ago. Scrappy startup energy and late nights fueled by belief more than capital. They'd built it together, Catherine's business acumen balancing Thomas's technical vision. Then the heart attack. Sudden, brutal, no warning except in hindsight when every missed symptom became glaring evidence of their collective blindness. She'd taken over as CEO 4 months after his funeral, when the board finally stopped suggesting she take time to grieve. She'd tripled revenue in 4 years, expanded into 3 new markets, made decisions that built empire from foundation, and somewhere in that transformation she'd lost the ability to connect with her own son. The intercom buzzes at 7:14, Michelle's voice carefully neutral. "Ms. Sterling, James called. He asked if you remembered what today is." Catherine's entire body goes cold. January 15th, 4 years, the anniversary of Thomas's death. Her voice comes out steady despite the guilt crushing her chest. "Tell him I'll call him back during my 9 o'clock break." But she knows she won't. There's always another meeting, another crisis, another excuse to avoid conversations that require emotional honesty. It's easier to build companies than rebuild relationships. At 7:43, Ethan finishes his first job of the day. Residential electrical panel upgrade, routine work that took less time than expected because the homeowner had prepared properly labeled everything cleared access. He appreciates clients who respect the process, makes his job easier, lets him do good work instead of fighting chaos. He's loading tools back into his truck when his phone rings. Unknown number. He answers anyway, learned habit from 3 decades of emergency calls, Cole Electric. The voice on the other end carries the particular strain of controlled panic. "Mr. Cole, this is Michelle Reeves calling from Sterling Tech. We have an emergency situation, complete power outage in our headquarters building. We have investors on site for a critical meeting, and every other electrical contractor in Austin is unavailable due to the incoming storm." Ethan glances at the darkening sky, noting the dropping temperature, the way the wind has shifted. "Ma'am, I appreciate the call, but emergency rates apply during severe weather. And I need to be transparent, a building that size, if it's a major system failure, I might not be able to restore power quickly." Michelle's voice gains an edge of desperation. "We're aware of emergency rates. We're authorized to pay whatever necessary. Our CEO is in a meeting that could cost the company $50 million if it doesn't go well. Please, you're our last option." Ethan considers. Emma is safe at school. His afternoon appointments can be rescheduled. And the truth is, he's curious about what could cause a complete outage in a modern commercial building with redundant systems. He checks his watch, 6:47. What's the address? Michelle provides it. Downtown, 12 minutes in current traffic. Ethan calculates mentally, I can be there by 7:15. But I need you to understand I can't make promises until I assess the situation. Relief floods her voice. Thank you, Mr. Cole. Security will be expecting you. Park in the loading zone, they'll direct you. Ethan ends the call, reprograms his GPS, and pulls into traffic. The first raindrops hit his windshield as he accelerates onto the highway. The storm is arriving early. In the 28th floor conference room of Sterling Tech, Catherine stands at the head of the table, laptop connected to the projection system that stopped working when the power died. 4 investors from Silicon Valley sit in semi-darkness emergency lighting, providing just enough illumination to see faces but not enough to conduct business. The senior investor, a man named Harrison Wolf, who's notorious for walking away from deals over smaller inconveniences, checks his watch for the 3rd time in 5 minutes. Ms. Sterling, we have a flight back to San Francisco at 9 tonight. If we can't review the financial projections... Catherine's voice cuts through the dim room with knife-edge precision. Mr. Wolf, I understand your timeline. My team is addressing the power situation. We'll be operational within 2 hours. Wolf leans back, skepticism clear. With respect, every electrical company in Austin is apparently dealing with storm prep. What makes you think yours will be different? Catherine meets his gaze, refuses to blink. Because I'm paying emergency rates and offering a completion bonus that makes this their top priority. We'll resume the presentation shortly. It's a gamble. She has no idea who Michelle called or whether they're capable of fixing anything. But showing uncertainty now would be worse than the power outage. Leadership in crisis means projecting confidence even when drowning in doubt. Wolf exchanges glances with his colleagues. The unspoken communication is clear. They're measuring her, deciding if she's the kind of CEO who crumbles under pressure or rises above it. Everything she's built over 4 years sits on the edge of this moment. Finally, Wolf nods. 2 hours. Then we're leaving regardless. Catherine's expression doesn't change. Understood. She steps out of the conference room, walks to the emergency stairwell because the elevators are dead, descends 2 flights to her office floor. Michelle stands near the window, phone pressed to her ear, and when she sees Catherine, she mouths, "He's here." Relief and anxiety war in Catherine's chest. She moves to the window, looks down 28 stories to the loading dock. A faded blue Ford F-150 pulls up, dented and obviously well used. A man climbs out, average height, wearing work clothes that have seen actual work, and begins unloading a heavy toolbox from the truck bed. Michelle ends her call. That's Ethan Cole, master electrician, 30 years experience. His ratings are perfect. Every review mentions his reliability and fair pricing. Catherine watches the man below, noting the methodical way he organizes his equipment. The lack of hurry despite the emergency. Did you tell him about the timeline? Michelle nods. I told him everything. He said he couldn't make promises until he assessed the situation. Catherine appreciates the straightforward response, even as it terrifies her. She needs certainty. She needs someone to guarantee this gets fixed. But maybe transparency is better than false assurances. Ethan enters the building through the loading dock entrance, where a nervous security guard checks his identification 3 times before allowing him to proceed. The guard escorts him to the electrical room in the basement, a journey through corridors that smell like new carpet and expensive ambition. The electrical room itself is impressive, the kind of system that costs 6 figures to install. Primary panels, backup systems, enough redundancy that complete failure shouldn't be possible. Which means someone made a mistake or something very wrong happened. Ethan sets down his toolbox, begins the methodical process of assessment. He checks circuit breakers first, looking for obvious trips. Nothing. Tests voltage with his multimeter. Readings are strange and inconsistent. He moves deeper into the system, following the electrical pathway like a detective tracking evidence. 20 minutes into his investigation, he finds it. A small device no bigger than his palm attached to the primary feed. It's sophisticated, clearly designed to cause system-wide failure while appearing like a malfunction. This isn't accident, this is sabotage. Ethan carefully photographs the device from multiple angles, then begins the delicate process of removal. Whoever installed this knew what they were doing. The placement is expert. Disconnecting it wrong could cause permanent damage to the building's electrical infrastructure. His phone buzzes. Text from Emma. Good luck with the emergency call. Don't electrocute yourself, please. He smiles, texts back. I'll do my best. Love you. Then he returns to work. The device comes free after another 10 minutes of careful manipulation. Ethan places it in a plastic evidence bag he keeps in his toolbox for situations exactly like this, then sets about restoring power. The main breaker trips require manual reset. He works through each panel systematically checking for damage, making sure the surge from the sabotage device didn't fry anything critical. Everything looks clean. Whoever did this wanted disruption, not permanent destruction. At 8:36, Ethan throws the final breaker. Lights throughout the building flicker, then stabilize. Backup systems wind down. The steady hum of normal operation returns. He climbs the emergency stairs to the 28th floor where Michelle meets him with an expression of pure relief. "You fixed it." Ethan keeps his voice level. "The immediate problem is resolved, but you have a bigger issue. Someone deliberately sabotaged your electrical system." Michelle's relief evaporates. "What?" Ethan pulls out his phone, shows her the photographs. "This device was attached to your primary feed, professional installation designed to cause system-wide failure. You need to figure out who has access to your electrical room and why they'd want to disrupt your operations." Michelle stares at the images, processing implications. "Ms. Sterling needs to see this." She leads him to Catherine's office. The CEO stands behind her desk on the phone with someone in rapid-fire Mandarin, multitasking even in crisis. When she sees Ethan, she ends the call mid-sentence. Her voice carries command, even asking questions. "Mr. Cole's status?" Ethan meets her gaze, noting the exhaustion hidden beneath professional polish. The way her shoulders carry tension like weight. "Power is restored, ma'am. Your systems are operational, but you need to see something." He shows her the photographs, explains what he found. Catherine's face doesn't change expression, but something shifts in her eyes. Calculation, anger, understanding that someone inside her company tried to destroy this meeting. Her voice goes cold. "How long will the repair hold?" Ethan appreciates the directness, permanently assuming no one tampers with it again. The device didn't damage your infrastructure. It was designed for disruption, not destruction. Catherine nods, then looks at him properly for the first time. Really sees him. Capable hands, flannel shirt, direct manner, carrying quiet competence. Not the kind of contractor who shows up in luxury vehicles and charges premium rates for average work. She pulls out her checkbook, writes quickly. "Your rate plus emergency premium plus completion bonus. This should cover everything." Ethan looks at the check. $5,000. More than twice what he'd normally charge, but appropriate given the circumstances and timeline. He folds it carefully, puts it in his shirt pocket. "Thank you, ma'am." Catherine extends her hand. "Thank you, Mr. Cole. You saved us today." Her grip is firm, businesslike, but Ethan notices the slight tremor she can't quite hide. This woman is operating on reserves, pushing through something that goes deeper than building emergencies. He releases her hand. "Just doing my job. But ma'am, you really need to investigate who planted that device. This was sophisticated work, someone with access and knowledge." Catherine's jaw tightens. "I intend to. Michelle will show you out." Ethan follows Michelle back toward the elevators, now operational. But he pauses at the 27th floor, hearing something through a partially open door. A young man's voice, raw with emotion, talking on a phone. "She forgot Marcus. My own mother forgot the day my dad died. She's in a meeting. Always a meeting." The pain in those words hits Ethan like physical impact. He knows that particular brand of grief, the kind that comes from feeling invisible to the people who should see you most clearly. He's lived it himself in the year after Rachel died, when work became easier than facing an empty house and a daughter who looked at him with her mother's eyes. He doesn't enter the room, doesn't intrude on private pain, but he stands there for a moment, listening to a son mourn his father and his mother's absence simultaneously, and something in his chest cracks. Michelle notices he's stopped, turns back. "Mr. Cole?" Ethan shakes his head. "Nothing. Sorry. I'm ready." But as they continue to the elevator, he pulls out a notepad from his toolbox, writes quickly. The note is simple, direct, the kind of truth that might be unwelcome but necessary. Your electrical system is fixed, but something more important is broken. Today is an anniversary. Your son needs you more than a $50 million deal. Some things can't be fixed with money. He tears the page free, folds it, hands it to Michelle. Could you make sure Ms. Sterling gets this after her meeting? Michelle takes the note, confused but compliant. Of course. Ethan leaves the building at 8:47. The storm has fully arrived, temperature dropping, rain turning to sleet. He sits in his truck for a moment, engine running, heater blasting, and thinks about the woman 28 floors above him who's mastered business but lost connection with her child. He thinks about Emma, safe at school, texting him silly memes during her lunch period. He thinks about how easily it could have gone differently, how grief and work could have swallowed him too, how he almost let it. His phone rings. Another emergency call, this time from an elderly woman whose heating system died. Her voice shakes with cold and fear. Ethan tells her he'll be there in 30 minutes, not to worry, to bundle up until he arrives. He drives through worsening weather toward the next problem that needs solving. This is his life now. Not building empires, just being there when systems fail. It's smaller than what he once imagined for himself. It's enough. At Sterling Tech, Catherine returns to the conference room at 9:03. The investors look up expectantly. She connects her laptop to the now functioning projection system, pulls up the financial models, and delivers the presentation with flawless precision. Wolf asks hard questions. Catherine answers with data and conviction. By 11:15, he's nodding, discussing implementation timelines, talking about the investment as if it's already decided. They break for lunch. Catherine steps back into her office, riding the adrenaline high of a successful pitch, feeling the particular satisfaction that comes from winning against odds. Michelle approaches with the folded note, explains that the electrician left it. Catherine opens it, reads the words once, then again. Reads them a third time as their meaning penetrates the armor she's built around herself. Today is an anniversary. Your son needs you more than a $50 million deal. The paper trembles in her hands. She looks at the date on her computer screen, confirming what she already knows. January 15th, 4 years since Thomas collapsed in his home office, since the paramedics couldn't restart his heart, since her entire world fractured into before and after. She'd forgotten. Not forgotten Thomas. She could never forget Thomas. But she'd forgotten to remember with James. Forgotten that grief requires acknowledgement. Forgotten that her son needed his mother today of all days. Catherine sits heavily in her chair, note still clutched in her hand, and for the first time in 4 years allows herself to feel the full weight of what she's lost. Not just her husband, her son's trust, the ability to be present for the people who matter most. She pulls up James's number, stares at it, tries to imagine what she could possibly say. Sorry feels inadequate. Explaining about the meeting feels like excuse-making. The truth is, she prioritized work over grief because work has clear metrics and grief is just endless drowning. The intercom buzzes. Michelle's voice, Ms. Sterling, the investors are ready to resume. Catherine takes a breath, sets down the note, rebuilds the facade. I'll be right there. But the words stay with her through the afternoon negotiation, through the handshake that secures $50 million in funding, through the congratulations from her team. They echo in her mind as she finally leaves the office at 7:30, drives through ice-slicked streets to her penthouse. James's door is closed when she arrives home. She stands outside it for 5 minutes, hand raised to knock, unable to force herself to do it. What does she say? How does she explain that work felt safer than vulnerability, that building a company was easier than facing the fact that she's failing as a mother? She lowers her hand, walks to her own room, sits on the bed, still wearing her coat, staring at nothing. At 11:47, she opens her laptop, searches Coal Electric Austin. Finds the business listing, reads reviews that praise reliability and fair pricing, and a guy named Ethan who explained electrical systems to customers like they were people instead of revenue sources. She clicks through to a sparse website. No professional photography, just functional information. Master electrician license prominently displayed. 30 years experience. Services offered. Contact information. Catherine clicks another link. Finds an obituary from 10 years ago. Rachel Marie Cole, beloved wife and mother, passed away after a brief illness. Survived by her husband Ethan and daughter Emma, age 7. So he knows. This man who left her a note about priorities, he knows what it costs to lose someone. He knows what it means to keep living after everything ends. Catherine closes her laptop, lies back on the bed, still fully dressed, and stares at the ceiling until exhaustion finally pulls her under. She dreams of Thomas, of the early days when they built something together, when success meant late nights fueled by shared vision instead of lonely mornings in empty penthouses. She wakes at 3:17, the witching hour of insomnia, and lies in darkness wondering how she became someone who forgets the people she loves, while chasing achievements that matter less than she pretends. Across the city, in a small house in East Austin, Ethan wakes at the same moment. Old habit from Rachel's final months, when her pain woke her and he learned to sense it even while sleeping. He hasn't broken the pattern in 10 years. He pads downstairs, makes tea he won't finish, sits at the kitchen table looking at nothing. Thinks about the woman in the tower, the son's voice breaking with grief, the familiar ache of being present in body but absent in the ways that actually matter. He learned the hard way that you can't outwork pain, that being there when it counts requires more than physical presence, that the people who need you most deserve your attention, not your exhaustion. Emma finds him there at 5:30, like she has on countless mornings when his insomnia wins. She makes coffee without asking, sits across from him, waits until he's ready to talk, or doesn't, completely comfortable with silence. Finally, Ethan speaks, voice rough from hours without words. "Did I ever tell you about the year after your mom died, when I tried to bury myself in work?" Emma nods. "You've mentioned it." He wraps both hands around his mug, seeking warmth. "I almost lost you. Not physically, but in every way that matters. I was so scared of feeling everything that I stopped feeling anything. Worked 70, 80 hours a week. Came home after you were asleep, left before you woke. Told myself I was providing, but I was just hiding." Emma reaches across the table, covers his weathered knuckles with her smooth young hand. "But you stopped. You came back." Ethan's eyes shine. "You asked me if I remembered the last time I laughed. I couldn't answer. When your own child asks if you remember joy and you have no response, you're failing at the only thing that matters." They sit together as dawn breaks outside, father and daughter, survivors of loss who chose connection over isolation. It's not perfect. Some mornings are still hard, but they show up for each other consistently, and that persistence has built something worth more than any achievement. At 6:15, Ethan's phone rings. Another emergency call. The storm has knocked out power across South Austin. An elderly woman needs help. Her voice shakes with cold. Ethan tells her he'll be there in 40 minutes to stay warm, that help is coming. He ends the call, looks at Emma. "Duty calls." She smiles, familiar with this routine. "Go fix things, Dad. That's what you do." He kisses the top of her head, grabs his toolbox, heads into the cold morning. The streets glisten with ice. Traffic moves cautiously. Austin isn't built for this weather, infrastructure groaning under conditions it rarely faces. But Ethan drives steadily, experienced in difficult conditions, focused on reaching the next person who needs help. He doesn't think about the CEO in her tower, or the note he left, or whether his words meant anything to someone whose world operates on different metrics than his. He just drives toward the next problem, the next opportunity to be useful, the next chance to prove that being there matters. It's not glamorous. It won't make him wealthy. But it's work done with integrity, and some days that's enough to build a life on. The city wakes around him, thousands of people starting their own days, carrying their own burdens, navigating their own losses. The storm continues, the ice thickens, and somewhere in the chaos connections form that will change everything. But that's for tomorrow. Right now, there's just the drive, the cold, and the promise he made to a frightened voice on the phone. Ethan Cole keeps his promises. It's who he is. It's all he knows how to be. 3 days pass before Catherine Sterling picks up the phone. 72 hours of staring at Ethan Cole's business card, checking his website obsessively at 2 in the morning, reading customer reviews like they might reveal something beyond what the words actually say. She tells herself it's professional curiosity, due diligence before hiring a contractor for routine work. The lie sits heavy in her chest. The truth is simpler and more complicated. She can't stop thinking about the note, about someone seeing through her carefully constructed facade to the failure underneath. About a stranger understanding in 30 seconds what took her 4 years to admit to herself. James barely speaks to her now. He eats breakfast before she wakes, stays at school for every possible extracurricular, comes home after she's already locked herself in her home office with reports and projections and all the safe distances money can buy. They exist in the same space without occupying the same world. On the third night, Catherine sits alone in her penthouse at 10:47, wine glass in hand, staring at James's closed bedroom door. The door that might as well be a wall. The distance that grows wider every day, she doesn't cross it. The lights flicker, not dramatically, just a brief stutter that most people wouldn't notice. But Catherine notices everything now, hyper-aware of systems failing, of small problems becoming catastrophic because nobody addressed them early enough. The lights flicker again, longer this time. Then the apartment plunges into darkness. Catherine sits motionless in the sudden black laptop screen, the only illumination. Emergency lighting should activate. Nothing happens. She pulls out her phone, calls building maintenance. The night manager answers on the fourth ring, voice thick with sleep or irritation or both. His tone shifts when he realizes who's calling: Ms. Sterling. Yes, we're aware of the situation. The backup generator isn't engaging. We've called our regular contractor, but they can't arrive until morning. After hours emergency service runs $800 minimum, arrives tomorrow at earliest. Catherine thinks about James in his dark room, about vulnerabilities she hadn't considered, about how quickly safety becomes fragile. That's unacceptable. Find someone who can come tonight. The manager's frustration bleeds through professional courtesy. Ma'am, with respect, everyone's booked. The storm damaged half the city's infrastructure, unless you know someone personally. Catherine ends the call, stares at Ethan Cole's business card lying on her desk where it's been for 3 days. Her pride wars with necessity. Pride loses. She dials before she can reconsider. The phone rings once, twice, 3 times. She's preparing to disconnect, already composing the awkward voice message in her head when someone answers. Ethan's voice carries none of the grogginess she expected. Cole, electric. Catherine's throat closes briefly. She forces words. Mr. Cole, this is Catherine Sterling. I apologize for calling so late. His voice warms with recognition. Ms. Sterling, what's wrong? Not what do you need, not what can I do for you, just what's wrong. Like her problems matter beyond their business value. The simple kindness nearly undoes her. She steadies herself. My apartment, complete power failure, emergency lighting non-functional, building maintenance can't help until morning. I know it's late and I have no right to ask, but... Ethan interrupts gently. What's your address? She provides it. Hears rustling on his end, the click of laptop keys. His voice returns measured. I'm 40 minutes out. Had a late call in Round Rock. I can be at your building by 11:30. Relief floods through her with physical force. Thank you. I'll notify security. She expects him to disconnect. Instead, a pause, then. Ms. Sterling, are you safe right now? Is there anyone with you? The question catches her off guard, its genuine concern unfamiliar. My son is here. We're fine. Just dark. Another pause, then, okay, stay where you are. I'll be there soon. The call ends. Catherine sits in darkness that feels less absolute now. Laptop glow painting shadows across expensive furniture that suddenly seems ridiculous. All this space, all this luxury, and she's still sitting alone, waiting for rescue. James's door opens. He emerges holding his phone for light, squinting at her. What happened? Catherine stands, moves toward him carefully. Electrical failure. I've called someone. He'll be here soon. James's expression sharpens. At 11 at night, must be expensive. She hears the judgment underneath the assumption that she's throwing money at problems instead of addressing them. He's the electrician who fixed the building 3 days ago. He was professional. James studies her face in the phone's backlight, searching for something. You okay? The question is so unexpected, so outside their recent pattern of careful distance that Catherine's breath catches. I'm fine. You should go back to bed. James doesn't move. Mom, are you scared? She wants to lie, wants to maintain the illusion of control she's worked so hard to project. But standing in darkness with her son looking at her like he still remembers when they were close, the truth slips out. A little. Yes. James nods slowly. Me too. Power outages freak me out ever since Dad. He stops. They never talk about this. Never acknowledge that Thomas collapsed during a thunderstorm when the lights went out. That James found him in darkness, that emergency services took too long because the weather complicated everything. Catherine closes the distance between them, pulls James into a hug he doesn't resist. He's taller than her now, has been for 2 years, but in this moment he feels like the child she used to comfort after nightmares. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I forgot. James's voice breaks. I know you're busy. I know the company matters. She cuts him off. You matter more. You've always mattered more. I just forgot how to show it. They stand together in darkness, holding on to each other until James pulls back slightly. The guy you called, is he good? Catherine thinks about the note about someone seeing her clearly enough to name the problem. I think so. I hope so. 38 minutes later, the lobby intercom buzzes. Catherine answers. The night security guard's voice crackles through. Ms. Sterling, there's an Ethan Cole here for you. She buzzes him up, then realizes she's still wearing her work clothes from 14 hours ago, that her makeup probably looks terrible, that she hasn't thought about her appearance in front of someone in years. The vanity of the concern irritates her, but she smooths her hair anyway. The elevator dings. Ethan steps into her hallway wearing clean jeans and a button-down flannel, carrying his toolbox and a heavy equipment bag. His hair shows damp from recent shower, and Catherine realizes he went home first, cleaned up before coming. Chose to arrive presentable rather than fast. She opens the door before he knocks. Mr. Cole, thank you for coming so quickly. Ethan's eyes adjust to the darkness, taking in the penthouse's vast dimensions. Happy to help. Can you show me to your electrical panel? Catherine leads him through the living room, conscious of how the space must look to someone who works with his hands. Marble floors, designer furniture, art that costs more than most cars. It's grotesque, really, all this wealth on display while the actual infrastructure underneath fails. The electrical panel sits in a utility closet near the kitchen. Ethan sets down his toolbox, pulls a headlamp from his equipment bag, and begins examination with the same methodical precision she remembers from the building. James appears in the hallway, phone light illuminating his path. He stops when he sees Ethan working, curiosity overcoming teenage isolation. Ethan glances up, offers a slight smile. Hey there, you must be James. James looks surprised at being recognized. How did you... Ethan returns to his work voice, casual. Your mom mentioned you on the phone. I'm Ethan. I promise I'll have your power back soon. Catherine watches this interaction, struck by how Ethan addresses James like a person, rather than an obstacle or afterthought. How his tone carries respect without condescension. James moves closer, watching Ethan test circuits. That's pretty complicated. Ethan nods, pulling a multimeter from his bag. Want to learn? James glances at Catherine, uncertain. She realizes he's asking permission, checking if she'll disapprove of him being interested in manual labor. The realization stings because she knows where he learned that hesitation. She keeps her voice neutral. If you want to. James moves to Ethan's side. Ethan hands him a flashlight. Hold this steady, pointing right here. Over the next 20 minutes, Catherine watches her son come alive in a way she hasn't seen since Thomas died. Ethan explains circuits and voltage and the color coding system that prevents disaster, never dumbing it down but also never making James feel stupid for not knowing. His teaching style is patient, inviting questions rather than rushing through explanations. See this main breaker, controls all power to the apartment. These smaller ones handle specific circuits. This one's 240 volts for your dryer oven. These are 120 for outlets lights. James leans in, genuinely fascinated. How do you know which wire goes where? Ethan points to the color-coded wires. Black is hot, carries the current. White is neutral, completes the circuit. Green or bare copper is ground safety measure. Mix those up and someone could die. James's eyes widen. Ethan continues without dramatizing. That's why you learn from someone experienced. Knowledge isn't just in textbooks, it's in hands-on experience, understanding how theory becomes practice. Catherine finds herself leaning against the doorframe, watching this scene like it's happening to someone else. Her son engaged and asking questions and showing interest in something beyond the narrow path she's pushed him toward, a stranger taking time to teach rather than just fix and leave. James asks suddenly, "Did your dad teach you?" Ethan pauses, hand still on a circuit breaker, and Catherine sees something flicker across his face. Memory, loss, connection to a past he carries. He did. Best thing he ever gave me wasn't money or possessions. It was skill. With real skill, I can work anywhere, earn anywhere. Nobody can take that away. The words hang in the air. Catherine thinks about what she's taught James, how to perform, how to achieve, how to present success even when failing inside, not how to build anything real. Ethan closes the panel, turns to Catherine. "Ms. Sterling, I need to be honest with you." Her stomach drops. Here it comes. The problem that money can't solve. What is it? Ethan's expression stays carefully neutral. This apartment has serious safety issues. Someone used aluminum wiring throughout, which was banned in 1972. It's a major fire hazard. The wiring deteriorates over time, gets hot, can ignite surrounding materials. Catherine processes this information with the same calm she applies to bad quarterly reports. How serious? Ethan doesn't soften the truth, serious enough that I'm uncomfortable leaving without addressing it. You could have a fire any night. The power outage actually might have prevented worse damage, gave the system a chance to cool. James's voice goes tight. We could have died. Ethan turns to him and Catherine sees him consciously choosing candor over comfort. You could have, but you didn't, because now we know, and knowledge lets us fix things. His hand lands on James's shoulder, brief and fatherly, and Catherine watches her son's face transform. Not fear. Relief, someone taking the danger seriously while also making it manageable. She forces herself to focus on logistics. How long would repairs take? What's the cost? Ethan considers. Complete rewire, probably 2 weeks. Could do it in phases so you don't have to move out. Cost runs around $42,000, give or take, depending on what else we find. Catherine doesn't flinch at the number. Money is the easiest problem. When can you start? Ethan meets her gaze, and something in his expression suggests he expected resistance. Monday morning, if that works, but I need to be transparent. This is major work. Walls will be open, daily disruption, dust and noise. She nods. Monday works. They stand in her utility closet that suddenly feels too small, the three of them negotiating the terms of safety. Catherine realizes she trusts this man, not because he's charming or deferential or skilled at managing up, because he told her the truth even when it complicated everything. Ethan pulls a slip of paper from his toolbox, writes quickly. Here's a temporary fix for tonight. I've disabled the most dangerous circuits. You'll have limited power, but it's safer than running everything. Don't use the dryer or oven until the rewire is complete. Catherine takes the paper, fingers brushing his work-worn hand. Thank you for coming. I know it's late. Ethan's slight smile carries warmth. I'm used to odd hours. Emergencies don't follow business schedules. James follows them to the door, clearly reluctant for the interaction to end. "Mr. Cole, can I ask you something?" Ethan pauses, giving James full attention. "Sure." James's words come carefully, like he's been holding them for a while. "Why do you do this? The late calls, the emergency work, it must be exhausting." Ethan considers the question seriously. "You know what's exhausting? Knowing someone needs help and not showing up. That's the kind of tired you can't sleep off." The words settle into the space between them. Catherine feels them land in her chest, another arrow finding the target she's been ignoring. Ethan shifts his toolbox to his other hand. "Get some rest. I'll see you Monday morning, 7 sharp." He leaves. The elevator doors close. Catherine and James stand in her newly limited lighting, the temporary safety Ethan created already changing the quality of darkness. James breaks the silence first. He's different. Catherine knows what her son means. "Yes." James turns to face her fully. "Dad would have liked him." The comparison shouldn't hurt, but does. Thomas, who believed in people before credentials, who hired based on character instead of resumes. She's spent 4 years being the opposite, trusting spreadsheets over instinct. She reaches for James's hand, a gesture that feels foreign after so much distance. "I think he would have." They go to their separate rooms. Catherine lies awake until 3, mind churning through logistics and implications, and the uncomfortable recognition that she's been wrong about almost everything that matters. Monday morning arrives with the kind of clarity that follows sleepless nights. Catherine takes the day off work, the first non-vacation day in 4 years, claiming personal emergency that her assistant doesn't question. She's earned the right to mystery. Ethan arrives at 6:53 with 3 other workers, all men in their 20s and early 30s, all carrying themselves with the same capable confidence their boss models. He makes introductions briefly, then they set to work with efficiency that suggests long practice. Catherine retreats to her home office door, open, supposedly working on email but actually watching the crew move through her space. They're respectful, putting down drop cloths, cleaning as they go, treating her expensive finishes with care despite being paid to destroy them. Around 9, Emma Cole appears at the door carrying a brown paper bag and looking uncertain. "Hi, I'm Emma, Ethan's daughter. I brought him lunch, but class got canceled and I didn't want to go home to an empty house, so..." Catherine finds herself genuinely smiling for the first time in days. "Come in, I'm Catherine." Emma steps inside, taking in the penthouse with the particular wide-eyed assessment of teenagers confronting wealth. "Wow, this place is like stupid big." The candor is refreshing after years of careful corporate politeness. "It is, isn't it? Sometimes I forget anyone actually lives here." Emma's expression shifts to something like understanding. "My dad says spaces feel different when people fill them versus when they're just occupied." Catherine thinks about this distinction, realizes it describes her life perfectly. "Your father is wise." Emma's smile is pure affection. "He's pretty great, sometimes embarrassingly so." James emerges from his room, drawn by new voices, and stops when he sees Emma. The teenagers regard each other with that particular awkwardness of youth, both trying to appear casual while clearly interested. Catherine watches them fumble through introductions, remembers being 18 and thinking every interaction carried world-ending stakes. Emma is pretty in an unself-conscious way, athletic build and easy confidence. James straightens slightly, that universal male response to attractive females. Emma holds up her brown bag. "I should bring this to my dad. Nice meeting you both." James moves quickly. "I can show you where he's working." They disappear toward the utility area. Catherine returns to her laptop, but her focus is shot. She finds herself migrating toward the work zone, watching Ethan direct his crew with minimal words and maximum efficiency. Around 10:30, Ethan takes a break. Catherine offers coffee. They end up sitting in her pristine kitchen that she never actually uses, drinking from mugs that cost $40 each and probably aren't dishwasher safe. Ethan cradles his mug carefully, like he recognizes its fragility. "Your place is beautiful." Catherine glances around, seeing it through his eyes. The words slip out before she can stop them. It's empty. The admission surprises them both. Ethan doesn't rush to contradict, just nods. Yeah, I get that. They sit in comfortable silence that feels impossible given they barely know each other. Catherine finds herself wanting to fill the space with confession, with all the failures she's been cataloging since his note. Instead, she asks, "How long have you been doing this?" Ethan thinks back 32 years professionally. Since I was 22. Worked corporate first, facilities maintenance for tech companies. Big offices, boring work, excellent benefits. Catherine hears the past tense. What changed? His expression shifts, grief and love tangled together. My wife got sick. Needed flexible hours for treatments, then for full-time care when it got bad. Corporate jobs don't accommodate that kind of need, so I went independent. Catherine's chest tightens. I'm sorry. Ethan shakes his head slightly. Don't be. Best decision I ever made, going independent. Got to be there for her final months. Got to be present for Emma when she needed me most. Can't put a price on that. The words echo what James said 3 nights ago. What she's been unable to give her son. You're a good father. Ethan's smile is self-deprecating. I try. Fail more than I'd like. But I show up consistently. That's got to count for something. Catherine thinks about the note he left her about how consistently being there is exactly what she's failed at. The note you left. About my son. How did you know? Ethan looks uncomfortable. I overheard him on the phone. Wasn't intentional eavesdropping, just wrong place, right time. Or maybe right place, right time, depending on perspective. She appreciates the straightforward response. It was the right time. I needed to hear it even if I didn't want to. Ethan meets her gaze. For what it's worth, figuring it out is the first step. Most people never even get there. His phone buzzes. He checks it stands. Break's over. We should finish the first phase today, second bedroom and hallway. Catherine nods, watches him return to work. The crew operates like a well-trained unit, Ethan directing with minimal instruction because they already know what he expects. Around 2, she brings sandwiches for everyone, an impulse that feels unlike her but right. The workers thank her with genuine appreciation, not the careful gratitude of people managing up. Just humans being grateful for unexpected kindness. Ethan catches her eye across the room, nods slightly. Approval. Recognition. Something shifts between them, undefined but present. The work continues through the week. Catherine maintains her home office schedule, joining conference calls while contractors work around her, answering emails to the soundtrack of power tools and casual conversation. She starts noticing things. How Ethan teaches rather than just directs, explaining the why behind each task. How he treats his crew with respect that builds loyalty. How he doesn't cut corners even when nobody's watching. James spends every afternoon in the work zone, asking questions and holding flashlights and learning to strip wire under supervision. Catherine watches her son engage with physical work, seeing pride when Ethan praises his careful technique. On Thursday, during another coffee break, Catherine asks, "Do you ever regret it, leaving corporate work, the stability and benefits?" Ethan considers while refilling his mug. Sometimes I think about the money, what Emma's college fund could look like if I'd stayed. But then I remember what I'd have lost, being there when she needed help with homework, teaching her to change a tire, showing up at every cross-country meet. He pauses, then continues. Knowledge isn't just in textbooks, it's in hands-on experience, understanding how theory becomes practice. The phrase is exactly what he told James. Catherine realizes it's not just something he says. It's something he believes deeply enough to have shaped his entire life around. She takes the risk. I've spent 4 years building a company. Triple revenue, new markets, industry recognition. My son barely knows me. Ethan doesn't judge, just acknowledges. Grief makes people do strange things. Work is concrete, measurable. Feelings are messy. Catherine's throat closes. How did you do it after your wife died? Ethan stares into his coffee, seeing something beyond the present. Honestly, at first I didn't. I worked 80-hour weeks, avoided home, couldn't look at Emma without seeing Rachel. Thought I was being strong, providing. Really, I was just hiding. Catherine recognizes herself in this description perfectly. What changed? Ethan's voice drops to something raw. Emma asked me if I remembered the last time I laughed. I couldn't answer. When your own child asks if you remember joy and you have no response, you're failing at the only thing that actually matters. The words land like physical blows. Catherine thinks about James asking her yesterday if she wanted to watch a movie, her automatic refusal because she had reports to review. How his face closed off, resigned to rejection. She forces herself to ask, how do I fix it? Ethan looks at her directly. Start showing up. Not perfectly, just consistently. Kids don't need perfect parents. They need present ones. The conversation haunts Catherine through Thursday afternoon and into Friday. The electrical work nears completion, walls sealed back up, new systems humming safely. Ethan schedules final inspection for Monday. Friday evening after the crew leaves, Catherine knocks on James's door, waits for permission instead of barging in. His voice carries surprise. Come in. She enters his room for the first time in months, takes in the college brochures scattered across his desk, the posters on walls. She's never noticed the life her son has built without her input. Her voice feels uncertain. Can we talk? James sets down his phone, wary but willing. Okay. Catherine perches on the edge of his bed, the position awkward and unfamiliar. I've been a terrible mother. James starts to protest. She raises a hand. Let me finish. I've been so scared of feeling everything I lost with your father that I stopped feeling anything. Buried myself in work because spreadsheets don't abandon you. But I abandoned you, and I'm sorry. James's eyes shine. Mom. She continues, needing to say it all. You asked me if I remember what today is. I didn't, but I should have. Your father deserved to be remembered, and you deserved a mother who remembered with you. Tears track down James's face. I miss him so much. Catherine pulls her son close, lets him cry on her shoulder, cries with him for the first time since the funeral. I know I miss him too, every single day. They hold each other, grieving together instead of separately, and something locked in Catherine's chest finally releases. The pain doesn't disappear, but sharing it makes it bearable. Eventually, James pulls back. Why now? What changed? Catherine thinks about the note, about Ethan's quiet wisdom, about watching someone model what she'd forgotten. Someone reminded me what matters. And I finally listened. James wipes his eyes. Ethan. She nods. He's been through it, understands how easy it is to lose yourself. James's expression turns thoughtful. He's good with people, not just fixing things, but actually seeing them. Catherine recognizes the observation as truth. Yes, he is. They talk for 2 hours, the longest conversation they've had in 4 years. James tells her about school, about the college anxiety he's been managing alone, about the friends she's never met and the life she's missed. Catherine listens without trying to fix everything, learning to sit with his struggles instead of immediately problem-solving. It's harder than running a company. It matters more. Monday morning brings final inspection. Ethan arrives early, walking through each circuit with meticulous attention. Catherine follows him ostensibly to observe, but really because his presence has become oddly necessary. The inspector arrives at 9, goes through his checklist, signs off on everything. Ethan's work passes without a single note. After the inspector leaves, Catherine writes a check for the agreed amount. Ethan folds it carefully, tucks it in his shirt pocket, extends his hand. It's been a pleasure working with you. Catherine takes his hand, holds it longer than necessary. I have a proposition. Ethan's eyebrows raise slightly. Ma'am? She's been planning this for 2 days, running numbers and scenarios. Sterling Tech Building. 15 floors, 25-year-old electrical system. I want a complete upgrade. Are you capable of handling that scale? Ethan processes the scope. That's 8 to 10 months minimum. Large crew required. Catherine nods. I've gotten 3 other bids. Yours was the most straightforward. I want someone I trust. Ethan looks genuinely surprised. You trust me? She thinks about the note about the truth when she needed it. You told me my $3 million apartment was a fire hazard when staying quiet would have been profitable. You care about doing things right. Ethan considers, okay, but I have conditions. The word conditions from a contractor would normally irritate her. From him it intrigues, which are, his voice stays level. My team works 7 to 4, no overtime. I need to be home with my daughter by 5:30. Catherine runs a company that demands 60-hour weeks from executives, but Ethan's boundaries are non-negotiable and she respects that. Agreed. Ethan continues. And one more thing. I want to train 2 of your young employees. Teach them electrical fundamentals. No extra charge. Catherine's curiosity sharpens. Why? Ethan's expression turns earnest. Because someone taught me. Now I teach others. That's how knowledge survives generations. The philosophy resonates with something Catherine used to believe before efficiency metrics crushed idealism. Deal. They shake hands, sealing the agreement. Ethan promises to send over a detailed proposal by Wednesday. Catherine walks him to the elevator, already missing the presence that's filled her apartment for 2 weeks. At the elevator, Ethan pauses. Ms. Sterling, can I say something that might be overstepping? Catherine prepares for more unwanted wisdom. Go ahead. His words come carefully. Whatever you're doing with James, keep doing it. I saw him Friday. He looks lighter, happier. That's worth more than any building project. Catherine's throat tightens. Thank you for everything. Ethan smiles, just doing my job. The elevator arrives. He steps in, waves slightly as the doors close. Catherine stands in her hallway, feeling the space settle into new normalcy. James appears from his room. He's gone. She nods. New project at my building. We'll see him there. James's face lights up. Really? Catherine recognizes hunger in that response. Her son needs male presence, someone who models the kind of man Thomas was. Really, he's starting next week. They return to their separate spaces, but the distance feels different now. Bridgeable. Catherine sits at her desk, pulls up her calendar, blocks off 6 p.m. every weekday. Dinner time, non-negotiable. Michelle calls around 11, voice careful. Ms. Sterling, the board meeting has been rescheduled to Thursday at 6. I know you marked evenings as unavailable, but they said it's urgent. Catherine cuts her off. Tell them 6 doesn't work. Offer 7 a.m. Thursday instead. Michelle's shock bleeds through. Are you sure Mr. Brennan specifically requested evening? Catherine's voice hardens. 7 a.m. If Brennan has a problem with that, he can discuss it with me directly. She ends the call, feeling the same satisfaction as closing a major deal. Boundaries. She's forgotten how to establish them. Time to remember. Wednesday arrives with Ethan's proposal, detailed and fair. Catherine approves it, signs contracts, transfers the deposit. The project officially begins Monday. Thursday morning at 7, she walks into the board meeting where Garrett Brennan sits with calculated annoyance. The COO has been pushing for her removal since Thomas died, convinced she's not ruthless enough for the CEO position. Brennan starts immediately. Catherine, these morning meetings are inconvenient. She interrupts coolly. Which is why I no longer accept evening meetings. My evenings are reserved. If 7 a.m. doesn't work for you, Garrett, you're welcome to skip. Brennan's jaw tightens. This attitude is exactly what concerns the board. You're not demonstrating the commitment necessary. Catherine leans forward. I tripled revenue in 4 years, expanded into 3 new markets, secured $50 million in funding during a power outage. My commitment isn't the question. My availability after 6 p.m. is non-negotiable. The other board members exchange glances. Catherine holds Brennan's stare until he looks away first. The meeting continues with new understanding. Catherine Sterling has boundaries now. People will adjust or be left behind. Friday afternoon, James comes home from school with unusual energy. "Mom, can we do something this weekend, just us?" Catherine closes her laptop without hesitation. "What did you have in mind?" James looks surprised by her immediate agreement. "Maybe hiking. You used to love hiking with Dad." The suggestion pierces her carefully maintained composure. Thomas loved trails, the quiet satisfaction of reaching summits. They'd hike every weekend until his work consumed him, then until he was gone. She forces herself through the pain. "I'd love that. Tomorrow morning?" James grins, genuine and bright. "Yeah, perfect." Saturday morning finds them on the Barton Creek Greenbelt Trail, the winter air crisp and clear. They walk in silence at first, relearning how to occupy space together comfortably. Eventually, James asks, "Do you ever think about Dad and wonder what he'd say about everything?" Catherine considers the question with unfiltered sincerity. "Every day. Usually I'm afraid of the answer." James glances at her. "Why?" She takes a breath. "Because I think he'd be disappointed in who I became, how I let work swallow everything else." James kicks at a rock. "I think he'd understand. He did the same thing at the end." The observation startles her. "He did, didn't he?" James nods. "That last year he was never home, always at the office or traveling. I was mad about it. Then he died and I felt guilty for being mad." Catherine stops walking, turns to face her son. "You're allowed to be angry at him, at me, at the universe. Anger doesn't erase love." James's eyes well up. "Sometimes I'm so angry I can't breathe, then I feel terrible because he's dead and I'm alive and I should just be grateful." Catherine pulls him close. "Grief isn't logical. You can love him and be furious at him simultaneously. Both are true." They hold each other on the trail while other hikers pass, neither caring about the public display. This is what they should have been doing for 4 years. Better late than never. They complete the hike stop for breakfast at a diner Thomas used to love. Order his usual pancakes and bacon and coffee that tastes like burned regret but somehow works. Share memories and laughs and moments of comfortable silence. Driving home, James says quietly, "This was good. Can we do it again?" Catherine reaches over, squeezes his hand. "Every Saturday. That's a promise." Sunday evening, she gets an email from Ethan. Simple subject line. "Project start confirmed. Monday, 7 a.m. The message is brief, professional, exactly what she expected. But Catherine finds herself reading it 3 times, looking for subtext that probably doesn't exist. She responds equally professionally, thanking him for the prompt communication. Hits send. Stares at her inbox like it might reveal something about the strange pull she feels toward this man who fixed her electrical system and inadvertently started fixing everything else. Monday morning comes too slowly and too quickly. Catherine arrives at her office at 6:30, nervous in a way she hasn't been since her first board presentation. She tells herself it's about the project scope, about ensuring a smooth start. The lie is transparent. Ethan arrives at 6:50 with his crew, the same capable efficiency. He finds Catherine in her office, knocks on the doorframe. "Morning, Ms. Sterling. We're ready to start whenever you give the word." She nods, stands, smooths her suit. "Please call me Catherine. And yes, begin whenever you're ready." Ethan's slight smile suggests he recognizes her nervousness. "Catherine it is." His crew sets up in the basement electrical room, spreading equipment and planning the phased approach that keeps the building operational while they work. Catherine finds excuses to walk past, checking on progress she doesn't understand. Watching Ethan direct with the same patient competence. Around 10, he surfaces for coffee. They end up in the break room alone, the silence stretching between them with new weight. Finally, Ethan speaks. "How are things with James?" Catherine allows herself a genuine smile. "Better. We're hiking now, talking. It's not perfect, but it's real." Ethan's approval is evident. "That's good. That's really good." She wants to thank him properly, to express gratitude for intervention that changed everything. But the words feel inadequate. "You were right about showing up." Ethan shakes his head. "You figured it out. I just reminded you of what you already knew." They hold eye contact longer than professional courtesy requires. Catherine feels something shift, recognition passing between them. He sees her. Not the CEO or the wealth or the reputation. Just her stripped of performance. The moment breaks when Michelle appears, urgent expression. "Ms. Sterling, Garrett Brennan is requesting an emergency board meeting. He's citing concerns about the electrical project costs." Catherine's jaw tightens. Of course Brennan would weaponize this. "Schedule it for 7 a.m. tomorrow. Send the full project proposal and 3 competitor bids to all board members today. Let them see the numbers before Garrett spins his narrative." Michelle nods, disappears. Ethan stands to leave, giving Catherine space for whatever corporate battle is brewing. She stops him. "Thank you for this morning, for asking about James." Ethan's expression softens. "Anytime. Good luck with your meeting." He leaves. Catherine stands in the break room, preparing for war but feeling strangely fortified. She has boundaries now. She has priorities. Brennan can't take those away. The emergency board meeting starts at 7 a.m. sharp. 5 men in expensive suits, sitting across from Catherine like a firing squad. Garrett Brennan orchestrated this, she knows, called in favors and manufactured urgency to corner her before she could build defenses. His smirk barely hides behind professional concern. Brennan starts without preamble, slides a single-page summary across the polished table. $680,000 for electrical work. Catherine, this expenditure requires board approval. The fact that you've already begun without consultation raises serious governance questions. Catherine doesn't touch his document, keeps her voice level. "I sent the full proposal and 3 competitor bids to everyone yesterday. Did you review them?" Board Chairman Richard Walsh clears his throat, 68 years old and wearing impatience like cologne. "We received them." Garrett's point stands. "This is a substantial commitment." Catherine opens her laptop, projects the comparison spreadsheet onto the conference room screen. Brennan Electric quoted $900,000, Morrison Group quoted $850, Cooper Systems quoted $780, Cole Electric quoted $680 and included employee training at no additional cost, the lowest bid by $100,000. Brennan leans forward, condescension dripping from a one-man operation, no corporate backing, minimal insurance if something goes wrong. Catherine cuts him off. "Ethan Cole has a master electrician license, 30 years experience and perfect ratings from over 400 clients. He discovered the sabotage device that nearly cost us the Wolf deal. His work on my personal property passed inspection without a single note. What specific concerns do you have, beyond his lack of a corporate logo?" The question hangs. Brennan shifts, recalibrating. "It's about judgment, Catherine. You've developed a personal relationship with this contractor. The optics are problematic." There it is, the real attack. Catherine feels ice form in her chest. Personal relationship. Brennan produces photographs, slides them across the table with practiced drama. Images of Catherine and Ethan in the Sterling Tech break room, standing close while talking. Another of them at her building entrance, his hand briefly on her shoulder in what was actually him, steadying himself while carrying equipment. The pictures are innocent, but angles suggest intimacy. Catherine recognizes professional surveillance, someone hired to manufacture scandal. Her voice goes deadly quiet. "You had me followed." Brennan spreads his hands, false innocence. "Public spaces, no privacy expectation. I'm protecting company interests." Catherine studies each board member's face, reading their responses. Walsh looks uncomfortable but not dismissive. The others show varying degrees of concern or calculation. Nobody is outright hostile. Yet. She closes her laptop, speaks directly to Walsh. Richard, I've tripled this company's revenue in 4 years, expanded into 3 new markets, secured $50 million in funding during a power outage that Garrett's recommended contractor couldn't fix. My professional judgment has been consistently sound. Walsh nods slowly. Nobody's disputing your track record. Catherine continues, the electrical system in this building is 25 years old. We've had 3 minor failures in the past year. A major failure during business hours could cost millions in lost productivity, not to mention potential lawsuits if someone gets injured. This is preventative maintenance that should have been done years ago. Brennan tries to interject. Catherine's raised hand silences him. As for the contractor, I hired the most qualified person at the best price who could maintain our operational schedule. The fact that he's not a massive corporation makes him more responsive, not less reliable. If you want to question that judgment, fine, but do it based on facts, not gossip. Walsh glances at the photographs, back to Catherine. Is there a personal relationship? The question demands candor. Catherine considers lying, dismissing it as absurd, but something in her rebels against shame. I respect Ethan Cole professionally and personally. He's a good man who does excellent work. If that's problematic, explain why. The room goes silent. Walsh exchanges looks with the other board members, unspoken conversation happening in glances and slight nods. Finally, Walsh speaks. Catherine, we're not suggesting anything improper, but appearances matter. Perhaps it would be wise to maintain some distance during the project. Avoid situations that could be misinterpreted. It's compromise middle ground that lets everyone retreat. Catherine should accept it, gratefully de-escalate before things get worse. Instead, she hears herself say, no. Brennan's eyes light up, sensing blood. Excuse me. Catherine stands, packs her laptop with deliberate calm. I'm not managing my behavior based on how someone might intentionally misinterpret it. I'm running this company with integrity. If that's insufficient, vote me out. Otherwise, the electrical project proceeds as planned. She walks out before anyone can respond, heart hammering against ribs, adrenaline singing through veins. Professional suicide, probably. But the alternative is capitulating to Brennan's manipulation, and she's done bending for men who mistake cruelty for strength. Michelle intercepts her in the hallway, expression strained. That was intense. Catherine keeps walking. It was necessary. Hold all my calls for an hour. She locks herself in her office, allows 3 minutes of shaking hands and racing thoughts before forcing composure. The phone buzzes almost immediately. Walsh's extension. His voice carries something between respect and concern. That was quite an exit. Catherine won't apologize. I meant every word. Walsh sighs, long and tired. I know you did. Listen, the board isn't out to get you. But Brennan is influential and he's making noise about your stability. These photos, the sudden boundary enforcement taking time off, it paints a picture. Catherine's laugh is hollow. The picture of someone who stopped destroying herself for corporate approval. A pause. Then Walsh speaks more gently. Catherine, between us, I think you're making healthy changes. But perception matters. Just be careful. Brennan is looking for ammunition. The call ends. Catherine sits in her executive chair, staring at the city spread below her windows, and wonders when success became indistinguishable from imprisonment. 2 floors below, Ethan works with his crew in the electrical room, unaware of the political warfare he's inadvertently triggered. They're making excellent progress ahead of schedule, the systematic replacement proceeding without complications. Around 10, one of his crew members, a guy named Marcus in his late 20s, asks, Boss, you noticed that security guard watching us since we got here? Ethan glances toward the hallway where a uniformed guard has been stationed since 7:30. Building security, probably standard for contractor access. Marcus doesn't look convinced. He's not watching the work. He's watching you specifically, taking pictures every time you move. Ethan's jaw tightens. He's been doing this long enough to recognize surveillance when it's pointed at him. Professional paranoia or legitimate concern, hard to tell. He approaches the guard directly. "Can I help you with something?" The guard, young and uncomfortable, stammers, "Just doing my job, sir." Ethan keeps his voice neutral. "Your job is taking photos of electricians." The guard's face flushes. "I was told to document all contractor activity." Ethan recognizes a kid following orders without understanding context. "Okay, just making sure there's no problem." He returns to work, but the awareness sits heavy. Someone is building a case against him, against Catherine, against whatever they think is happening. The realization creates a knot in his stomach. At noon, Catherine appears in the doorway, professional armor fully deployed. "Mr. Cole, could I speak with you privately?" The formality is a warning. Ethan wipes his hands on a shop rag, follows her to a small conference room. She closes the door, leans against it like she's physically holding something back. Her words come clipped. "There's a situation. Someone on my board is manufacturing concerns about our professional relationship. I need you to understand that your work is excellent, your bid was fair, and this has nothing to do with your qualifications." Ethan processes implications. "Someone's trying to get me fired." Catherine's expression tightens. "Someone's trying to undermine me and your collateral damage. I won't let that happen, but I need you aware there might be additional scrutiny." Ethan should feel angry. Instead, he feels protective, which is dangerous and inappropriate and entirely genuine. "What do you need from me?" Catherine looks surprised by the question. "Nothing. Just continue doing the excellent work you're already doing. I'll handle the politics." Ethan steps closer, not touching, but present. "Catherine, if my being here makes your life harder, I can recommend another contractor. Someone with corporate credentials and no complications." She meets his eyes, and something passes between them that has nothing to do with electrical systems. "I don't want another contractor. I want work done with integrity. That's non-negotiable." The air between them feels charged, crackling with unspoken acknowledgement. Ethan recognizes the feeling, has been trying to ignore it for weeks. Attraction, connection, the dangerous pull of finding someone who sees you clearly and doesn't turn away. He takes a deliberate step back. "Then I'll keep working." Catherine nods, professional mask sliding back into place. "Thank you." She leaves. Ethan stands in the empty conference room, hand running through his hair, muttering to himself about complications he doesn't need. He's 54 years old, too experienced for this kind of mess. But walking away feels impossible, and not just because of the job. That evening, he arrives home to find Emma doing homework at the kitchen table, textbooks spread in organized chaos. She looks up when he enters, reads his face immediately. "Rough day." Ethan drops his toolbox by the door, moves to the refrigerator. "Complicated day. There's a difference." Emma closes her calculus book. "Want to talk about it?" He pours water, drinks half the glass before answering. "Job politics, clients dealing with some boardroom drama, and I'm caught in the middle." Emma's expression sharpens. "The Sterling Tech job, is Ms. Sterling okay?" The concern in her daughter's voice surprises him. "You met her once. Why do you care?" Emma shrugs, but her face shows real emotion. She seemed sad, like successful and powerful, but underneath just really sad. Plus, James is cool if his mom's dealing with stuff that sucks for him. Ethan sits across from his daughter, marveling at her capacity for empathy. "When did you get so wise?" Emma grins. "Genetics. You raised me, right?" They make dinner together, the familiar routine soothing. Ethan chops vegetables while Emma handles the stove, their movements coordinated through years of practice. They talk about her classes, about her cross-country times, about the college applications she's finally starting to tackle. Over pasta that Emma insists is better than his version, she asks, "Dad, do you like Ms. Sterling?" Ethan nearly chokes on his wine. What kind of question is that? Emma's look is pure teenage knowing, the kind that has an obvious answer. You talk about her differently than other clients, and you never bring up other clients at dinner. Ethan considers lying, dismissing it as professional interest, but he's raised Emma on straight talk. She's impressive, smart, capable, trying to fix mistakes. I respect that. Emma nods slowly. But do you like her? The phrasing is so adolescent that Ethan laughs despite the question's weight. Emma, she's a CEO. I'm an electrician. We're from completely different worlds. Emma's response is immediate and fierce. That's such bullshit, Dad. You're a master electrician with 30 years' experience. You run your own business. You're trustworthy and kind, and you know stuff that actually matters. Don't act like you're less than her because she has a fancier office. The vehemence startles him. I'm not saying I'm less than her. I'm saying we're different. Different priorities, different lives. Emma pushes her pasta around. Mom always said people are just people, that jobs and money and all that surface stuff doesn't change what actually matters. The invocation of Rachel hits hard. Ethan reaches across, covers Emma's hand. Your mom was right about a lot of things. Emma squeezes his fingers. So maybe she's right about this too. Maybe you're allowed to like someone without it being complicated. Ethan wishes it were that simple. It's already complicated, kiddo, trust me. They finish dinner, clean up together. Emma retreats to her room for more homework. Ethan sits on the couch with a book he doesn't read, mind churning through scenarios and implications. His phone buzzes around 9. Unknown number. He answers cautiously, Cole Electric. The voice on the other end is male, smooth, calculated. Mr. Cole, my name is Garrett Brennan. I'm the COO of Sterling Tech. I'd like to speak with you about your current project. Ethan's entire body tenses. What about it? Brennan's tone drips false friendliness. I'm concerned there may have been some miscommunication regarding scope and budget. I'd like to meet, clarify expectations, ensure we're all on the same page. Translation. I want to intimidate you into walking away. Ethan keeps his voice neutral. The scope and budget were clearly outlined in my proposal, which Ms. Sterling approved. If there are concerns, she should contact me directly. Brennan's pause is calculating. Ms. Sterling is somewhat emotionally compromised right now. Family issues, personal stress. I'm trying to protect the company's interests while she works through her challenges. The condescension makes Ethan's blood boil. With respect, Mr. Brennan, Catherine Sterling is the most professionally competent person I've worked with. If you have concerns about my work, document them formally. Otherwise, this conversation is over. He hangs up before Brennan can respond, hands shaking with suppressed fury. The manipulation is obvious, the attempt to position Catherine as unstable while framing himself as reasonable. Classic corporate warfare. Ethan forwards a summary of the call to Catherine via email, brief and factual. She deserves to know what's happening behind her back. Her response comes within 5 minutes. Thank you for telling me. I'm sorry you're caught in this. Stay the course. 3 words that shouldn't mean as much as they do. Stay the course. Like she's not just talking about the electrical work. The next morning brings tension that radiates through Sterling Tech's corridors like static electricity. Ethan and his crew arrive at 7, find the security presence doubled. The guard from yesterday is joined by a supervisor who checks credentials with aggressive thoroughness. Marcus mutters under his breath, "This is ridiculous, we've been here a month." Ethan keeps his voice low. Just comply. Don't give them ammunition. They proceed to the electrical room, begin the day's work under watchful eyes. The atmosphere is toxic pressure building toward some inevitable explosion. Around 9, Catherine's assistant Michelle appears, expression tight. "Mr. Cole, could you come to Ms. Sterling's office, please?" Ethan follows her through corridors where employees track his movement with curious stares. The attention is uncomfortable, making him hyper-aware of his work clothes and dirty boots against their corporate polish. Catherine's office door is closed. Michelle Knox gets permission to enter. Inside, Catherine sits behind her desk with forced composure. Standing near the windows is Garrett Brennan, arms crossed, victory already gleaming in his eyes. Brennan starts immediately. Mr. Cole, thank you for joining us. We need to discuss some irregularities in your work. Ethan's spine straightens. What irregularities? Brennan produces a folder, slides it across Catherine's desk. Our independent inspector found several code violations in your completed work. Improper wire gauges, inadequate grounding, substandard connections. This could pose serious safety risks. Ethan takes the folder, scans the inspection report. His blood goes cold. These aren't minor issues. These are catastrophic failures that would only happen from gross incompetence or deliberate sabotage. His voice comes out harder than intended. I didn't do this work. Brennan's eyebrows raise in theatrical surprise. You're saying our inspector is lying? Ethan looks directly at Catherine. I'm saying someone tampered with my installations. Every circuit I complete gets photographed for documentation. I can prove these violations didn't exist when I finished. Catherine's expression shows belief mixed with concern. You have photographs. Ethan pulls out his phone, scrolls through dated images. Every single day. Here's the section your inspector flagged. My photos from 2 days ago show proper installation. Someone accessed this after hours and deliberately created violations. Brennan moves closer, but Catherine's hand raises, stopping him. Let me see those photos. Ethan hands over his phone. Catherine studies each image with forensic attention, comparing them to the inspection report. Her face hardens as understanding dawns. She looks at Brennan, voice lethal. Who hired this inspector? Brennan maintains innocent confusion. I did as COO, overseeing major expenditures, standard procedure. Catherine's smile is ice. Standard procedure would be hiring an inspector from the approved vendor list. This company isn't on it. Who are they? Brennan's composure cracks slightly. A firm I've worked with before. Excellent reputation. Catherine's fingers fly across her keyboard, corporate research database appearing on her screen. Morrison Inspection Services, founded 18 months ago. Primary client, Brennan Electric, your brother's company. The room goes silent. Ethan watches realization spread across Brennan's face that he's been caught. Catherine continues, voice surgical. You hired an inspector with financial ties to your family's competing bid. That inspector filed a false report after someone, presumably with building access and your authorization, tampered with Mr. Cole's work. This isn't oversight, this is fraud. Brennan's mask drops entirely. You're making serious accusations. Catherine stands, power radiating. I'm stating facts. Mr. Cole's photos prove his work was compliant. Your inspector's report is false. Someone with building access sabotaged the installations. You're the only person with both motive and means. Brennan shifts tactics, desperation edging in. Catherine, you're not thinking clearly. Your judgment regarding this contractor is obviously compromised. The board has concerns about your stability. Her laugh is sharp enough to cut my stability. I've been documenting your irregularities for months, Garrett. Kickbacks from vendors, inflated expense reports, unauthorized access to confidential files. I was building a case before you forced my hand. She pulls up a second file, projects it onto her office screen. Financial records, email chains, security logs. The evidence is damning, comprehensive, exactly what someone with Catherine's analytical skills would compile. Brennan's face goes pale. You can't prove any of that. Catherine's smile turns predatory. Actually, I can. I've already forwarded everything to Richard Walsh and the board's legal counsel. They're reviewing it now. You're finished, Garrett. The silence stretches taut as wire. Brennan looks between Catherine and Ethan, calculating odds that have already turned against him. Finally, he speaks, venom replacing strategy. You're making a mistake, throwing away your career for some working-class nobody who doesn't belong in your world. Ethan tenses, ready to respond. Catherine beats him to it, voice dropping to something more dangerous than anger. Ethan Cole saved this company twice. He has more integrity in his capable hands than you've demonstrated in 15 years. If the board can't see that difference, they deserve to lose both of us. Brennan stalks toward the door, pauses with his hand on the handle. The board will hear about this, your emotional attachment, your poor judgment. This isn't over. Catherine doesn't flinch. Yes, Garrett, it is. He leaves door slamming with enough force to rattle the glass walls. Catherine sinks into her chair, adrenaline visibly draining. Ethan moves cautiously closer. Are you okay? She laughs, slightly hysterical. I just torpedoed my COO and possibly my own career defending an electrician I've known for 6 weeks. I'm either okay or completely insane. Ethan sits in the chair across from her desk. For what it's worth, I think you're the sanest person in this building. Catherine meets his eyes, something vulnerable showing through her corporate armor. Why did you document everything, the photographs? Ethan's response is simple truth. Because I learned a long time ago that doing things right means being able to prove you did things right. People lie. Documentation doesn't. She studies him with an intensity that makes his pulse quicken. You're not what I expected. The comment hangs between them, loaded with meanings neither is quite ready to examine. Ethan breaks the moment. What happens now? Catherine's professional mask slides back into place. Now I call an emergency board meeting, present the evidence against Brennan, probably get questioned extensively about my judgment regarding you. Maybe lose my job. Ethan's stomach drops. Catherine, I'll withdraw from the project, recommend someone else. This isn't worth destroying what you've built. Her response is immediate and fierce. Don't you dare. Walking away now proves Brennan's narrative that I chose personal feelings over professional judgment. We finish this project, we do it right, and we let the work speak for itself. The determination in her voice reminds him why he respects her. Okay, we finish it. Catherine's phone buzzes. She glances at it, expression tightening. Walsh wants to see me in 10 minutes. This should be fun. Ethan stands to leave, giving her space to prepare. At the door, he pauses. Catherine, whatever happens, you did the right thing. Sometimes that costs everything, but it's still right. She nods, not trusting her voice. Ethan leaves her office, returns to his crew, delivers the news that they're staying on the project despite the drama. Marcus whistles low. Boss, you sure about this? We could walk away clean. Ethan considers the question seriously. Yeah, I'm sure. We finish what we start. The crew returns to work with renewed focus, proving through action what Brennan tried to destroy through manipulation. By lunch, they've completed another full section ahead of schedule, every connection perfect. Ethan doesn't see Catherine for the rest of the day. Her office door stays closed, meetings running back to back. He catches glimpses of her through glass walls, shoulders straight, expression controlled, fighting battles he can only imagine. Evening arrives. The crew packs up. Ethan lingers, something pulling him to check on her. He finds her assistant still at her desk, looking exhausted. Michelle glances up. She's still in there. Been on calls all afternoon. Ethan hesitates. Is she okay? Michelle's expression softens. She fired her COO today. The board is questioning everything, but she's holding her own. Ms. Sterling is tougher than people give her credit for. Ethan nods, turns to leave, then stops, pulls out a business card, scribbles his personal cell on the back. If she needs anything, anything at all, day or night. Michelle takes the card, understanding more than she acknowledges. I'll make sure she gets it. Ethan drives home through evening traffic, mind replaying the day's chaos. Emma meets him at the door, immediately reading his tension. What happened? He tells her everything, breaking his usual rule about keeping work separate. She listens without interrupting, processing implications. Finally, she speaks. You like her. Like really like her. Ethan slumps on the couch. That obvious? Emma sits beside him. Dad, you put your career on the line for her today. You don't do that for regular clients. He can't deny it. She's in trouble because of me. Emma's hand finds his. She's in trouble because she chose to do the right thing. That's not your fault. Ethan appreciates his daughter's wisdom even as anxiety gnaws. What if she loses everything, her company, her career? Emma's response carries pure conviction. Then she'll build something new. People who care about doing things right always find a way. You taught me that. They sit together in comfortable silence, father and daughter, until Emma's stomach rumbles audibly. They make dinner, easy conversation resuming. But Ethan's mind keeps drifting to Catherine in her tower, fighting alone. His phone rings at 10:30. Unknown number. He answers, Coal Electric. Catherine's voice is tired, stripped of professional polish. Ethan, I hope I'm not calling too late. His entire body relaxes, hearing her safe. Not at all. How are you? She laughs, hollow and exhausted. I've had better days. The board meeting was brutal. 3 hours of questions about my judgment, my stability, my motivations. I think Walsh believes me about Brennan, but the others need convincing. Ethan wishes he could do something useful. What do you need? Catherine's silence stretches long enough that he thinks the call dropped. Then I need to know this was worth it. That fighting for integrity over politics means something. Her vulnerability hits him hard. It means everything. Catherine, you stood up for what's right even when it cost you. That's rare. That matters. Her voice breaks slightly. Does it? Because right now it feels like I destroyed my career for an electrical project. Ethan sits up straighter. You didn't destroy anything. You exposed corruption. You protected work done with integrity. You showed your son that principles matter more than convenience. Those are victories even if they don't feel like it right now. Silence again. Then a shaky breath. Thank you. For today. For being someone worth defending. The words create warmth in his chest that has nothing to do with gratitude and everything to do with connection. Thank you for defending me. I know what that cost. They stay on the phone for another hour, conversation drifting from crisis to lighter topics. She tells him about James, about their weekend hikes, about rediscovering her son. He tells her about Emma's college applications, about teaching her to change brake pads last weekend, about fatherhood's daily small victories. Eventually, Catherine yawns, caught off guard by her own exhaustion. I should let you go. It's late. Ethan doesn't want the call to end, but recognizes necessity. Get some rest. Tomorrow's a new day. Her voice carries something soft. Good night, Ethan. He allows himself the intimacy. Good night, Catherine. The call ends. Ethan sits in darkness, acknowledging what he's been avoiding for weeks. He's falling for her. The timing is terrible, the circumstances impossible, the complications endless. But the truth remains. He's falling for Catherine Sterling, and there's no safety net below. The next morning brings unexpected development. Ethan arrives at Sterling Tech to find Walsh waiting in the lobby, distinguished and powerful in the way of men who've spent decades building empires. Walsh extends his hand. Mr. Cole, Richard Walsh, may I have a few minutes? Ethan shakes, noting the firm grip and assessing gaze. Of course. They move to a small conference room. Walsh gets straight to business. I've reviewed your work history. Impressive credentials, excellent ratings, fair pricing. You appear to be exactly what Catherine claimed, a qualified contractor doing quality work. Ethan waits for the other shoe to drop. Walsh continues. I've also reviewed the evidence against Garrett Brennan. Catherine was right. He's been systematically undermining her while enriching himself and his family. The board voted this morning to terminate him immediately. Relief floods through Ethan. That's good news. Walsh's expression remains neutral. For the company, yes. For Catherine, the situation is more complex. Several board members have concerns about her judgment regarding you specifically. They're questioning whether personal feelings influenced her decision to hire you and defend you so aggressively. Ethan's jaw tightens. My bid was the lowest by $100,000. My work passes every legitimate inspection. What personal feelings? Walsh's slight smile suggests he appreciates the directness. The fact that you're asking that question tells me you're either incredibly naive or genuinely unaware of how you two interact. The observation lands like a punch. I've been completely professional. Walsh nods. I believe you, but professional doesn't mean neutral. Catherine looks at you differently than she looks at other people, and you look at her the same way. The board noticed. Brennan weaponized it. Ethan's mind races through implications. What are you asking me? Walsh leans back. I'm asking if there's something between you and Catherine that could compromise her position further, because if there is, I need to know now before it explodes publicly. The question demands candor, even though the truth is complicated. I respect Catherine professionally and personally. I think she's remarkable, but we've never acted on anything inappropriate. Our relationship has been entirely professional. Walsh studies him. But you want it to be more. It's not a question. Ethan meets the older man's eyes. What I want is irrelevant. Catherine deserves to succeed on her merits. I won't be the reason she doesn't. Walsh nods slowly. That's the right answer. Here's what's going to happen. You'll finish this project with the same excellence you've demonstrated. Catherine will continue as CEO with the board's full support. And whatever is or isn't developing between you will remain private until the project concludes and people stop paying attention. It's not a request. Ethan understands the bargain. I can do that. Walsh extends his hand again. I hope so, Mr. Cole. Catherine Sterling is the best CEO this company has ever had. I'd hate to see her career derailed by something as human as falling for a good man. The acknowledgement of feelings neither of them has explicitly claimed sits heavy in the air. Walsh leaves and Ethan remains in the conference room processing the conversation's weight. He can finish the project professionally. He can maintain boundaries. He can protect Catherine's career by keeping his distance. These things are possible, necessary, the right thing to do. But the cost of right choices keeps climbing, and Ethan's not sure how much more either of them can afford to pay.